am I here with?
Annie Marsden.
What is your position in the church?
I am the EC Kids coordinator, so I help oversee the kids ministry here.
That's so awesome. So I have a few questions for you today, just discussing some things about your faith. So we'll get started with our first question. How did you first come to know Christ, and what made you decide to take your faith so seriously?
I was raised in a Christian home, so from the time I could walk, I was in church. My parents taught me about Jesus and who he was, and so I accepted Jesus into my heart when I was little, like probably 7 or 8 is when I first asked him to come in. But it wasn't until probably COVID, so I was in grade 12 and I was stuck at home, that I really took it to the next level. So I never walked away from the Lord or anything. I always loved Jesus, but he wasn't necessarily always a priority in my life. But COVID really made me reevaluate my priorities, and I feel like my faith got a lot more personal after that.
I love that. So then, adding on to that, what is one of your best tips for building a strong relationship with the Lord?
I think it's just time. It's just time with him, time in his word, time in his presence. I think that's something that I still need to constantly remind myself to make a priority. But you can't have a relationship with someone you don't spend time with. And so that's probably the biggest advice, is just the more time you spend with him, the more you get to know him, the more you hear his voice, the more you get to learn what he wants for you, and that's how you grow deeper.
Yeah, so how has living in the Lord and living in that way changed how you handle everyday situations in work, life, friendships, school, relationships?
I think it's still constantly a learning process. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I'm definitely reminded whenever I come to a decision I have to make, or to a problem relationally, work-wise, whatever that looks like. I'm always reminded, okay, who am I going to first? And I think, especially being a girl, it's very easy to go to friends first. Go to your mom, go to your friends, and that's something the Lord's been even just convicting me of recently. Is hey, he's the best counselor. He is the mighty counselor. So always going to him first. So I think, I think whenever I come up to an issue, a problem, anything I'm dealing with, I'm okay, God, I need to just get in your word. He's given us all that we need to live out this life. It's just about really seeking it and then applying it.
Yeah. So what daily habits have you implemented that have helped you further this relationship and just improve and actually say yes to your convictions?
Being in your word daily, it's a lot easier said than done, but it's so important. You can I can tangibly notice the difference on a day that I've started the day off reading my Bible and being filled up with his truth, and a day when I haven't. And so it's so important to me that every day. I heard this quote one time. It was I want God to get in my head before I get in my head, which I think has been really encouraging me lately too. Is okay, before I let Annie in my brain, I need to get God in my brain. And so that's starting the day off. We at Experience Church call it the first 15. 5 minutes in your Bible, 5 minutes worshiping, and 5 minutes in prayer. Again, wish I was more perfect at it, but that daily habits. If I'm not spending set aside time with God every day, it's not gonna bode well for me. So daily time in the morning usually.
That's so good. I love that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.